Hi there. So day 6 here. Um, so today I wanted to talk about a little bit. Well, so I got out a little notebook that I have here, or it's a folder for one of the stories that I'm currently running. It's a bit of like a directing folder in a lot of ways. Um, and I have a bunch of stuff in here, and some of it I use, and some of it I don't. And anymore, like I tried it, and then it sort of worked, or it sort of didn't. So I thought it might be a useful exercise to go through this stuff and see if maybe it's useful to you. Um, so let's see what I have in here. One thing I have is I have a lot of these. So you probably can't see it really well. Okay, well, it's backwards on the camera, but basically it's a little card, and on the card is the name in bold of a shopkeeper, and then above her name, the type of goods that this is a female, so that she sells, and it says traditional Chultan items. And then below that, I have this small grid of stuff that she sells, and then with an associated price. Um, so I did that because my players are in a big city with 10,000 people, and it has all these different markets. So what I did was I just made all of these I made a bunch of them, and then I have the different merchants in there. And I think I also have some associated personality traits, like will tell you a dream that she had and ask you to interpret it for her. Or I have this one. His one is has pet monkey that he hates, will give better prices to people who treat monkey poorly. And he sells mining and explosive tools, and his name is Flintlock. So I figured that kind of fit, you know? Like I was looking through like some different personality traits. Like I made a list of all these different things. I'm like, okay, so this guy, he sells explosives. Maybe he's kind of a jerk. You know, I just like spitballed on a character. I mean, the explosive guy could be a dreamer too. Who knows? Maybe he's like, he's got that's a totally different character, and that's just as acceptable. There's no right thing. You know, you don't want to get into stereotyping. Um, so uh, so yeah, and then it's kind of fun making all of these because going through all the lists of the items that they have, because there's a big list of just every item online that you can find on D&D Beyond, the website. So if you go there, you'll be able to see all of everything. I had fun, some fun. There was fun involved. Going through all of the items and kind of dividing them up and being like, oh, okay, so who would sell this and what kind of a merchant would carry this? So he's got for 150 gold, you can buy a bomb from him, which 150 is a ton. I mean, my players definitely don't have that. You can buy a gunpowder keg for 240 gold pieces. Or you can buy like a sledgehammer for 2 gold pieces, or a torch, or chalk, or chain, or oil, or a portable ram. So, so these have been pretty useful. They've come up a couple times. If ever my players want to go to a shop, I'll kind of just pull one of these out that seems appropriate. Aristocratic, foreign, and complex goods. So this woman has stuff like an abacus and a viol and a magnifying glass. A dye shop, illicit items, drugs, poison, and thieves' tools, as well as gaming sets. Potions, potion seller. Magical items, clothing, traditional items, and perfume. Great if you're going on a date. This is who you want to go to. You want to go to Ellie. She also sells costumes. And then I have a list of different ideas. This is stuff that I mean, my players never interacted with any of this, and it was really fun to make anyway. So I definitely, it's all there, and I guess I could bring it back. I could have people wearing costumes, and now I know where they got them, you know? And then I have even the different types of costume, like a monkey costume, a crane costume, a king costume, a queen costume, a goblin costume, a bird costume. This one's the most useful one, hunting, exploration, and jungle travel goods. That's like a super practical store. Ndidi is the name of the store owner there. Um, and yeah, this is just a big thing. So this also let me, just like if they went into someone's store, I could pull one of these out and hand it to them, and then they can see it. Now, one of the great things about using this is the fact that players will get a lot of gold in the game, and then certain times when the games run, there's like nothing to spend it on, and they're sort of left like hanging in the wind, like, oh man, like I've got 10,000 gold pieces, it doesn't matter, there's nothing. So this, it's a way of giving them something to work for, as they go forward and they advance. They can have goals, like I'm saving up to buy X. So in a way, this makes the world really concrete and can add a lot of longevity. I hope, I don't know. It hasn't 100% been my experience. It has a lot to do with my players and whether or not they take the bait. So this, I did not write. This is not my handwriting. This is my friend Luke. He's one of my players. I did a little exercise where I had each one of my players start the game by writing rumors about their character that someone might overhear if they were in company. I asked them to write 2 good rumors, 2 bad rumors, and 1 untrue rumor, and not tell me which one is which. So I have this list of things, and this is funny. Edward has sired 20 children of many different races over the course of his escapades. He has kept this a secret from the Church of Josephine, which condemns philandering. Interesting. So, Luke's a great writer. That stuff is really fun. I have one of these from Kyle as well, another one of my players. Let's see, what else do I got here? I have some printouts from the game that I'm running is the Tomb of Annihilation. If any of you guys play D&D, you might recognize that map behind me is a map from that adventure of the jungle continent where it takes place, or peninsula. So for navigating the jungle, in the city, it's possible to find a guide. So I printed out little handouts in black and white of the different guides. This is straight from the book. So this way, if the players ever met one and that guide was offering their services, I could just hand this to the players. So my players actually will have these guides starting next session. They are River Mist and Flask of Wine. And they're pretty good as far as they go. 2 Tabaxi hunters, cat people. Fun. It also means that I get to act like a cat person when I roleplay, which, yeah, I want to do that. I want to be a cat. I have this. This is a folded up map of, I drew this whole map. It's really big. Of a fort that they visited in the jungle. You can kind of see the gangway going around there. And the hill and like this big building in the center, and there's more to the map. My artistry skills are not my forte, unfortunately. Everyone's got a gift. I really, God, if I could find an artist, like an artist who wanted to be, super partnered with me, that would be unreal. That would be like the kind of thing that would totally change the game. So if you're out there, let me know. Looking for somebody. DM looking for artist. Single DM. Let's see. So I have this. It's a character sheet from a dead character. He died. It was really, it's pretty unfortunate. I definitely hate to see that happen, and at the same time, death is a part of, change happens. And and like there's tension and then there's release, and you just go in as it goes. The story was incredibly exciting, and it set a ton of things into motion. His death was not meaningless. It was very impactful, and who he was still has an impact on the world and the story that we're telling. So that's something that that makes the game meaningful. If every character, alive or dead, still matters to the story in one way or another. I mean, yeah, it's just what I want to create. And I will. Great, yeah. So he was a ranger. And then I have one character who does not always show up. The player does not always show up, so sometimes I'll roleplay her character, and then so I have her stat sheet here. It's not on official paper, but I've made so many character sheets at this point. You know, whatever. What's one more? No big deal. So yeah, that's really fun. I love role-playing her. She's a good character. Okay, this one is very confused. This appears to be a note. A note page. I was doing a lot here. The handwriting is actually pretty good for me, which is surprising. I have a quote from a character that I wanted someone to say. I never got to say it, so I'm going to do it now. Listen, there's something else out there besides the undead and the dinosaurs. It's got it in for us. It's the fucking Chultans. They live out in the wild. Watch yourself. Yeah. Huh. Well, yeah, some of these notes are a little difficult to describe. I have some gear here that I thought would be interesting to sell. So I have a list of stuff. This was before I made all of those player things. And then I have a list of gods that are involved in my story. Bishaba, neutral evil, god of murder. Ubtao, neutral good, god of Chult and creation. Savras, god of fate, the future, and the unknown. And Agma, lawful neutral, god of knowledge and what can be known. So, that's awesome. I especially like the interplay between Agma and Savras, the god who knows everything, and the god who knows what the god who knows everything doesn't know, which is the future, which is when no one can know, you know? The blind spots, the unforeseen circumstances, the, you know, the magic, the visions. Savras is probably my favorite god. I'm pretty heavily considering making a wizard, a divination wizard who worships him. So I have some names down here, some ideas for plot hooks, motivations for various factions, brainstorming on how a character will behave in a certain situation, useful or not, a chain of events depending on how I expect my players to tackle a particular set of circumstances. Let's see, a body count of all the people in that fort, like how many soldiers there are exactly and how they're ordered and organized. Notes on different characters. A recap that I was going to do for my players at the top of the session. So just a couple bullet points of what had happened the previous session. And I have a list of their whole crew right here, of their ship, their sailboat, with like each crew member is on a different line. And there was one time where their boat was in a big storm and everyone on the crew had to roll to see if they got thrown overboard. and a couple of them did, and they would make multiple checks. So I'd either have like a check mark or an X if they failed or they succeeded. So I would use this to keep track of a large number of people. I would just have each name listed there, and then beside them, I would just check like who fell over and who didn't. And I just do a little check X, depending on whether or not they survived. And that was a really easy way for me to keep track of a crew of about 15 people in this storm, which was cool. A couple of them did fall off, and then a couple of them died, and their names are crossed off here. And a couple were pulled up, and then I started making notes on their personality right next to it as well, because I had a little bit of extra space. So I note like if someone's a drunk, or if they're religious, or if they have a strong bond with someone else on the ship, or if they admire someone or they hate someone. I would note all of that here. And just using their line and maybe a couple words to give myself kind of a springboard as I'm working with these characters. They're pretty minor, so there was no reason to put more than what I needed. And if I ever wanted to expand on them, I could do that, you know. Kind of depends on like how interested my players are, or if I have a plan for that character or not. I have a receipt from the UPS store. I don't know why I have that. And then, oh, I have like a birth chart here from an old campaign. No, I have some ideas here. Oh wow, this is the first. Okay. I have right here when I first started developing the history of my world, when I was going point by point, talking about the major events that shaped this continent before my players showed up. So stuff like that it's good to lay the groundwork of that, and also keeping it general and keeping it to big events. You know, for example, like when a colony was first settled, when another people first made contact, when a specific important war happened, whenever there was a power change, whenever a new group came and settled, rising tensions, conflicts, growth of wealth, becoming a population center, becoming an attractive, like, international, essentially, intercontinental destination, and a usurpation and some other stuff. So yeah, so that's what I have. And then I do a bit of an allegory in my, I mean, everyone does. I feel like every campaign, okay, maybe not everyone. I think the best campaigns, though, are allegories for stuff that actually happened in history. So I draw on that a lot. I draw on actual history. So as I look at the different factions in my world, I'll take like a historical people, and I'll just assign a name to that faction, so that if I want to go to history for inspiration, I can, and I can have an idea of the flavor, and usually colors come with that, like they're associated, you know, what kind of colors a certain people would wear, or you know, who they would be, who they would feel an affinity towards, and what their needs are, and what their wants are, and what drives them, and stuff like that, which is all really fun, sexy stuff. I have stuff about religion in here. This is actually pretty detailed. A lot of it has become like hard and fast at this point. Like, I know a lot of it, and this was where it all started. This was my brainstorming day. This has got to be like a year ago that I did this. Great. So I think that's pretty much it in terms of what I have to share from this. Thanks for listening. It's been a pretty long one. Let me know if you like it, and I'll be back tomorrow with more. Thanks.